Welcome. I am here for a number of reasons. My wife told me to be. I got her home for the first time in 12 years. I'm trying to get in the habit of saying yes. Whatever you say. Nassau County's been good to me and to Hillary, and I'm grateful for that. I love Jay Jacobs and Mindy, their family. But I'm here because I like, admire, and personally support Tom Suozzi. I also identify with him. I am the only person here who 31 years ago, when I was even younger than he is now, was running for re-election after having been defeated over an unpopular tax, thereby becoming the youngest ex-governor in the history of the United States. So I faced a similar circumstance. I get elected governor in 1978. I was 32 years old. We had literally, our state operated on highways. We didn't have much rail. And the roads were literally broken by bad weather, overuse, underfinanced. And so I said, I'll fix them, but you gotta let me raise revenues. That's the rule. You couldn't deficit spend, you know. Then the legislature changed my tax program and made it very unpopular, and I fixed the roads, and the people drove on the roads I fixed to vote against me. And so these two things happened to me. This is what I want to happen to Tom.
Yes.
I stopped at this country store one day on the way home to see my beloved mother. And I saw this old guy out there in overalls and boots, and he said, "Aren't you Bill Clinton?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I just killed you in the last election." He said, "I personally cost you 11 votes. Me, my wife, my two boys, their wives, and 5 of my friends. We decked you." And I said, "Why?" I knew it, because they said, "You raised my car tax." I said, "Look over there across the road." I said, "Do you remember the day I was inaugurated? There was a picture in Arkansas Gazette, our state's main paper, of the road buckling open and all these cars in the ditch, and I had to send the National Guard to rescue those people. It was my first official act." He said, "Yeah, I remember. I don't care. I didn't want to pay it." So I said, "Well, let me ask you something. If I were to run again, would you consider voting for me?" He said, "I wouldn't just consider it, I'd do it." I said, "Why?" He said, "We're even now." So I do fine. I get the "we're even now" voters. Then we get close to the election, and all of a sudden the election starts tightening up again. And in the middle of the afternoon, I was in another part of my state, and I went in this little service station in Country Cafe, and there's one guy in there in the middle of the afternoon. He looked at me and he says, "You're Bill Clinton, aren't you?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I voted against you last time, but I'm going to vote for you this time." I said, I always gave him a chance to say it. I said, "Why did you vote against me last time?" He said, "Because you raised my car line." I said, "Why are you going to vote for me this time?" He said, "Because you raised my car line." I said, "Look, we're close to election. I need every vote. This is a tight election. I don't want to make you mad, but it doesn't make any sense for you to vote for me now for the reason you voted against me last time." He said, "Oh, yeah, it does." He said, "Bill, you may be a lot of things, but you ain't dumb. You are the least likely man on the face of the earth to ever raise that line." Let's be serious. So I know what this is about. And the night he lost by 380 whatever votes, I was physically ill. Because I like Tom Suozzi, and I admire him.
Thank you.
And I remember what a lot of younger voters in this election won't remember. I remember the trouble that Nassau County was in when he became the county executive. I remember how bad it was. I remember nobody had a vision for the economy. Nobody thought, how are we going to get out of this? And nobody was willing to take any tough decisions. And nobody wanted to give you any money at an affordable interest rate. And you were on the downhill path. You were in danger of becoming yesterday's great place. And he took a bunch of tough decisions and turned it around. And then he hit the second downturn with that horrible financial crash. And he tried to do something honorable and noble to keep you from getting in trouble again. And people didn't like it. And instead of voting against him, most of them just stayed home. Tens of thousands of them stayed home. Enough for him to lose an election by less than 400 votes. So, what have you got? Now you've got 4 years of experience where a guy said, vote for me because of what I didn't do. He wasn't an axe murderer either. I mean, there's a lot of things we're glad that he didn't do. Near as I can tell, he never took somebody else's car off the lot. I think you were laughing, but I'm serious. Have we reached the point in our country with all our disappointments and all of our partisan battles and all of our economic hardship that we really believe we should give somebody a position of this responsibility, the only position in this county that can reshape the future and create a whole new economic direction, which you heard Tom talk about at the end? It's the most important reason to vote for him. That and the fact that he can add. He'll get you out of trouble again. But do you really, can you afford to make a decision because of something somebody didn't do?
No.
And property taxes did go up for 2/3 of the people in the county because of the way the assessment was handled. Plus, everybody had to pay more fees.
That's right.
And a great Republican, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court in the healthcare case said, you can call it a fee, I'm going to call it a tax.
Yep.
I bet he never thought he'd have Justice Roberts used against him. But I want you to think about this. Jay talked about, I work all over the world now, and all over America. And I try to help people solve problems. And half the time I have no idea whether the people I'm working with are Republicans or Democrats in America.
That's right.
All I want to do is to figure out a way to solve a problem or seize an opportunity and do it faster, cheaper, and better than it's been done before. That's the real work of building a future in a time of change. Look, a lot of people in this country are in trouble. Median family income, the income in the middle, not average, in the middle, after inflation is still lower than it was the day I left office. Because we have had all these squabbles, and we major in the minors, and everybody's afraid of their shadow, and they want to get elected for what they didn't do.
Right.
And you ought to read, if you haven't, the Newsday endorsement of Tom. And, would go through all the he said, she said stuff about what happened before. The most important thing is, he's the only person you can vote for who's got a theory about how to revive the economy and make this a future place again. We've got to get America, and we've got to get Nassau. a lot of one-liners, and I can be clever, and I can tell you a few more jokes, but I'm telling you, when it comes down to it, when all your public service is over, there are only three things that matter. Are things better when you quit than when you started? The children have a better future? And are things coming together instead of being torn apart?
Right.
The rest of it is all background music. And the only way to deal with these big forces that Tom and Jay both talked about, that have been working like an undertow on this county for decades now, is to get back in the future business. He's got the only credible plan to get young people back here, to get jobs back here, to get investment back here, to make people go forward together. And